Hey, what's up everybody? It's David here. So today I want to talk about using credit cards responsibly and how to maximize their benefits. In order to do that, we need to start with how a credit card works and how dangerous can be. But before we start that, we need to talk about how awesome it'll be if you subscribe and smash that like button. So when we start to talk about what exactly a credit card is, we need to understand that it's a revolving line of credit that a bank gives you that you can have access to anytime throughout the month, and you usually have a grace period of roughly 30 days before you have to pay the money back. Now, with this though comes some interest, and it's a high interest rate. You pay 19% on average for credit card interest for anything of a balance that you carry over month to month. Now, most people, best case scenario is going to be they recognize this interest they're going to pay. They realize, oh man, I've started to pay some of this each month. Maybe they stop when they realize they've paid a couple $100s in interest. They get themselves in gear, they get on a budget, and they start to pay this credit card off on a monthly basis. Now, what's the worst case scenario though? This is where most people are in America. They don't recognize this interest that they're paying, and they end up having a monthly payment every single month, paying interest after interest, up to tens and thousands of dollars of interest over the course of their lifetime. And this really is sad because it keeps them in the middle class and keeps them feeling broke all of their life. And what can really happen if you stop paying your monthly bills altogether on your credit cards? Well, you're gonna wreck your credit score, you're gonna potentially get sued and ultimately have to file bankruptcy. And this is something we don't want to do at all, obviously, and something we want to avoid. And this is why we need to look at constantly paying off our credit cards on a monthly basis. This is super serious though, because in America, over 189 million Americans have a credit card. And the average of those have 4 credit cards. And once an American household decides that they're going to take debt on the credit card, they end up averaging $8,398 in credit card debt. And this ends up totaling in America a staggering $13.86 trillion in credit card debt. Let that sink in for a second. $13.86 trillion in credit card debt. Now, fathoming $1 trillion is something I really struggle with. So let's stop for a second and just think about that. $1 trillion is 1 million million. And we're talking 13 times that. So if we take San Jose, California, for example, they have a population of just over 1 million people. So let's take all of them. And we're going to say that we're going to buy them this amazing house. Now this house is a $12 million, 6-bed, 7.5 bath, 12,000 square foot home. And you know what? We're going to end up giving them a housewarming present. And this housewarming present, it's going to be $1 million sitting in the middle of their dining room table. Because that's what we can do for every single person with this $13 trillion. It's a staggering amount of money. Now, there are some benefits that come along with these credit cards. But I got to tell you, you've got to be extremely cautious and extremely careful when you take on a credit card. It's not something to be taken lightly. But if you think that you can beat it and you can pay it off every single month, then there are some benefits. And I'm going to go through those. But you have to be real with yourself. And you can't let yourself carry a credit card balance. Otherwise, you're going to fail. You're not going to succeed in your personal finance journey, and you're not going to be able to amass the amount of wealth that I want you to have in your life and what's going to make you have financial peace and be successful. So the first benefit with having a credit card is it allows you to establish and improve your credit score. So when you're first starting off, having a credit score is going to be an important thing. Now, while we may not like it, all of the world has really embraced this credit score, and it's something that we do need to understand, evaluate, and recognize how we can benefit from this. So, like I said, when you're first starting off, a credit card is going to be one of the easiest ways to establish your credit score. Now, why do you need a credit score? It really shows employers, banks, landlords, how you interact with money, and how well you handle it. So when you're first starting off, a bank will take a chance on you if you apply for a credit card. Now they're not going to give you a large limit because they don't want you to run up a large debt on their behalf, but they will give you a $200 to maybe $500 credit limit when you're first starting off. They'll let this sit there for a few months, And then maybe by 6 months, they'll end up increasing that credit card limit that you have. They might bump it up to $1,000, $2,000, and they'll continue to bump it all the way up, as high as you'll end up letting them take it. And what they're hoping here is eventually you're going to falter and you're not going to pay it off every month. And that's going to result in you paying that 19% interest on their credit card. That's extra money for the bank. And that's really what their end goal here and why they'll take a chance on you. But you're not going to fall for that. You're going to pay it off every single month on time. And as you continue to build that credit score by having the credit card, what that's going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to go and get an apartment as you're starting off. Now a landlord is going to look at that credit score and they're going to take a chance on you just like the bank did. And how are you going to prove it to them? You're going to pay your rent on time or early each month. That's going to end up feeding back into the credit score and increasing the credit score. And as we have a better credit score, it's going to allow us to get better loans. And so we don't generally want to have a loan, but most of us are going to end up with a mortgage, at least to start off on our first house or so. And so when we apply for our mortgage, they're going to look at our credit score. They're going to see that our credit score is high because we've paid everything on time or early each month. And so this is going to allow us to get the best interest rate possible. So ultimately, we're not going to pay as much money back in interest on our loan as if we didn't have a good credit score and we had a high interest rate. Now, yes, the end goal here is to pay off all of our debt, including our house mortgage, and all of these loans will be gone so that we never actually have to borrow money again, and then we won't really care what our credit score is. But when we're first starting off, we don't have that level of wealth that we're able to go out to our own bank account and borrow the money at 0% interest. So we want to use other people's money at the least amount of interest possible until we get to that level of wealth where we can finance ourselves. So start out with the credit card. It's the number one benefit. The best way that you can build your credit score is by opening that first credit card account and making sure that you pay it off on time or early every single month in full. The second benefit of credit cards is the cashback and other rewards. I'm going to have a future video that talks through which credit card's best for you, what rewards you can get from them, and how to maximize those. But for this video, I just want you to know that being intentional in using a credit card with a cashback reward is something that can save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year because you're getting money back just for spending the credit card's money. So let's say you can get a 2% cashback credit card, which is not unheard of and it's fairly easy to find. If you spent $4,000 a month, which wouldn't be difficult if you were putting all of your expenses on that credit card, that's $80 a month that you're getting back. Doesn't sound like a ton, but it adds up. That's $960 over the course of the year just for being intentional about the method of payment that you're using. So it's something we want to take advantage of. But now what you can't do is go out there and be the crazy couponer that's wanting to save 10 cents, but they're willing to spend $1 to do it. It just is going to go ahead and kill all of the benefits that you would have in these cashbacks if you're out there spending money that you weren't going to spend anyway. So what you have to do in this case is be wise. There's studies out there that show when you use a credit card, you end up spending more money than if you were just to spend cash. And there's additional studies out there that show when you put cold, hard cash onto the counter, you are going to spend less than if you use your debit card, and ultimately you're going to spend even less if you put a credit card down. So the order is cash, debit card, credit card. What happens there with the cash and the debit card, and the reason you spend less with those, is there's a psychological effect that happens. You know that that money is tied to you. So if you're spending cash, you've pulled it right out of your pocket and you're setting it down. If you're spending it on a debit card, you know that that money's tied directly to your checking account. But if it's a credit card, you lose that factor that's in your mind, and you end up not having that hesitation at the counter to say, do I really need to purchase this item? And so what you have to do with these credit cards to take advantage of these rewards and cash back is you have to know about these studies' findings, and you have to stop and evaluate every single purchase and say, is this necessary? Is this something I would buy if I were putting cash onto the counter? And if you do that, you can take advantage and maximize these benefits. Now the third benefit of a credit card is it allows you to track your monthly expenses. And if used correctly, it can actually become a good cash flow management tool, especially if you're putting all of your expenses each month on a credit card. The bank's websites have gotten really good over the course of the past few years at really categorizing these monthly expenses. It'll tell you where you're spending your money. So are you spending X amount on food and groceries and eating out? How much you're spending on gas? What you're spending on miscellaneous money? Maybe how much you're spending at Target. These are important things to know, and what you might actually be quite surprised with where you're spending your money. And so using this as a cash flow tool in conjunction with a monthly budget, which I highly recommend you do, because you're not going to be successful in your personal financial journey if you're not setting up a budget. And for a budget, I really recommend a zero-based budget. I'm going to have a future video on it, but for now, let's just say it's something that you have to have, and I really recommend checking out Dave Ramsey's Every Dollar app for setting up this zero-based budget. It's one of the best tools that's out there. Wish he'd sponsor this video, but I'm going to go ahead and plug him here because I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it's one of the best tools out there. And the point of a zero-based budget is you sit down at the beginning of the month, you understand how much you're expecting to have in from an income standpoint each month. You put that down on a piece of paper in the app in this case, and then you list all of the expenses that you're going to have throughout the month. Now, that sounds overwhelming, but once you get down and you start to work through the details, it really becomes pretty simple as you get into the groove month after month after month. And so ultimately what you do is you work your way down all the way to zero. So you're confident that you know what you have coming in, what you're going to have on the outgo side, and ultimately you know that you're going to be safe each month. And so this ends up really freeing up your mind, and you have financial peace in this sense that you don't have to constantly be thinking, oh, do I have enough money in my checking account? Am I going to overdraft? What am I going to do? You don't have to worry about that because you know you've set up a zero-based budget. You've evaluated your credit card's cash flow, you know where you're spending your money, and you have a plan in place. And so really all you're doing is you're using the credit card to execute the plan each month on that what you've set up for your budget, and you can use that credit card as an extremely helpful tool in setting up your future and constantly being successful month in and month out. The fourth benefit of a credit card is going to be the fraud protection. So if your credit card is hacked, which is bound to happen, mine is hacked a couple times a year it seems like, you are putting the credit card's money at risk and not yours. Yes, with a debit card you technically have the same protection that you would have with the credit card, but the difference here is when you spend the debit card, the money's immediately sucked out of your account. The bank then has to do an investigation once you report the fraud, and then they will end up refunding you the money, but that's going to be a couple weeks down the line likely. And so the benefit here with the credit card is I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to deal with the fraud. All I have to do is report the fraud to the credit card company, which heck, half the time they ended up telling me that there's a fraudulent activity on my account before I even realize it, shut down the card and send me a new one. So yeah, I have a little bit of a headache, but I don't have to worry about the money being sucked out of my account. So now, of course, with everything that we've talked about here and all of the benefits,
this all assumes that you are going to be responsible and you're going to pay the credit card off in full every single month, and you're never going to miss a beat. You can't let yourself slip.
If you slip, it's going to totally abolish all of the benefits that we've talked about here, and you're not going to see the rewards that you would have otherwise. So if you think you can be responsible with a credit card, go ahead and open one because it really does have some benefits. You are going to get to establish and improve your credit score. You're going to be able to get into those cashback rewards and those other benefits we talked about. You are going to be able to set up a cash flow monthly budget and be able to evaluate what you're spending your money on. And you are going to have the fraud protection. And all of those things really do benefit you. But again, you have to make sure you pay it off in full every single month, no exceptions. You can't let yourself slip. So as always, if you're getting value from this channel, please subscribe, smash that like button, and please comment down below and let me know what future topics you would like me to cover. We'll see you next time.